Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. This is iPad, iPhone Essentials. We are recording again today. There's two sections to today's session. One is on the iPadOS. Remember, we did the iOS 13 last week. Today it's oriented towards the iPadOS and what's available there. And then we'll also be talking about surfing the web or using Safari as a browser. So two sections to today. So the first section is iPadOS and what changes occurred. And so let's go ahead and start. The display has changed a little bit. There are now more icons available than before. Not a whole lot, but there are more. And then there's also what is referred to as pin widgets, or the Today view on the left-hand side of your screen. So I'll show you those. Here is the new screen that has 6 across and 5 down. So there are 30 icons available compared to 20 from just a couple weeks ago. This pin widgets, or the Today view, is now available on the left-hand side of the screen. This was always available when you swiped your screen to the right. This would show up by itself. Now it's visible here on the screen if you want it. And our buddy Settings. So you go to Settings and Display. I have one that actually, a laser pointer that works. So on this screen for Settings and Display, there's a section now called Home Screen Layout. And you have a choice of more icons or bigger icons. Again, this is only iPad, so iPadOS. And then there's a button that says Keep the Today view, which is this left section on the screen on the first page. So you can go to the old way, have that off, and you have to swipe to see it. But if you turn that on, it's there all the time when you're on page 1 of your home pages. And that's this section down here.
Oh, that's the iPad. Which version does that one start with?
I'm talking about iPadOS, which is 2 weeks old at this point.
Oh, that's the new 13.
Absolutely, it's the new one. That's the whole subject of this iPadOS is the new one, not the old one. The old way, you would have to swipe the screen to the right and it would show up. Now it can stay there. Okay.
Is that what you're referring to as the pin widget?
Pin widgets, that's what they refer to as pin widgets, yes. Each one of these is a widget and it's pinned to the screen. Strange term. And if I go and show you on mine, this is, and if I scroll up, there are other widgets.
And how do you put them there?
They go there when I go to the very bottom of all that, there is an edit. I press the edit, and now I can choose. These are the ones that are on the screen, and more, they're not on the Today view. So I can add it here, take it away. I add it by hitting a plus, I take it away by hitting the minus. So if I don't want the calendar on the Today view, it's gone. Ooh. That's interesting. Oh, there we go. I made it go away. Didn't know it would do that. So the calendar is not gone. Let's go back. Let's go back. What I did wrong was I edited it, I took the calendar off, but I did not press done. Now, it's still not there. It's still there. Let's go off, let's come back, and it's still there.
That's my life.
Do you have to make it a minus?
I did.
You did.
Let's go back. It's still there. Minus, remove, and done. Now, it's gone. You have to do all the steps. So if I go back to the bottom, do edit, find calendars, which is now down below, hit the plus. It's now on the bottom. I don't want it on the bottom. When you put your finger on the 3 lines, or the hamburger as they call it, you can drag it to wherever you want. We'll put it there, tell it done, and yes, it's back. Okay, so that's how to edit the widgets, which is in Today View. So mine is now set so it always shows the Today View, or the widgets, on the left-hand side of the first page. And I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there are 5 rows, so there's still going to be 30 icons on it. I believe they've also increased the number of icons you can put on the dock at the bottom. You just drag things to the dock and drag them off the dock when things are jiggling, and you can remove and add.
Is there a reason to want them down there instead of?
Oh yes, they're convenient, and when we get to multi-view, you'll see why they're in the dock. But it's convenient to have it there no matter which page I'm on. Those apps are still there. Okay, we're going to get into areas now that revolve around doing multiple things at the same time, multitasking. And they'll take a little bit of thought. So I'll go through it, demonstrate it, and it's for iPad only. They had split screen before on iOS 12, but it's changed a bit. And so you can have multiple instances of an app running at the same time. That didn't used to be the case. You could run maps twice, 3, 4, 5 times if you want now. You can have 2 apps visible on the screen at the same time. And there's 2 ways to do it. One is with a split screen, and one with a side view, which we'll get to in a little bit. You can now have 2 instances of the same app running at the same time, doing different things. So let me demonstrate that. Let's go to Maps. Okay, there we are. All right, I want to run another instance of Maps, so I'm going to go below and draw it up. The only thing I can start a new app is if it's on the dock. The answer to your question, why do you want the dock? So I can run Maps again, and it is now put it in a small square, and there is a plus on the top. I press that, and let's go to Chicago. All right, I'm going to go back again to the menu, tap on the maps, and now you see there are 2 different ones running. Okay, so I can choose locally. I can go to the bottom, press on maps, and go to the Chicago map. So those are both running at the same time. But I can view both at the same time with split view. I'm going to bring it up by putting my finger underneath and drawing it up. I'm going to hold my finger on the map app. Well, that wasn't quite what I wanted. Put my finger there and hold it, and I'm going to draw it up to the side and let go. And now they're both running at the same time and both viewed. So if I tap on the one for Cal State Fullerton, I can look at that. I can get directions. I can now tap on the Chicago and go find where I used to live, which happens to be right there. So you can operate the same app, two different instances, but you can also run a different app. So I'm going to use and I'm going to run Safari in that one. Okay. Now, if you look at the multitasking area, which is double-click the home button, you'll see that I have maps running two different areas. One, the local one, and the other one, the Chicago one. Try vice versa. That's the local one, that's the Chicago one. So you can have those and bounce them back and forth, which is really convenient if you're doing something. Let's say you want to look at a website and take notes on it. So you could have the browser, Safari running on one side and notes on the other, and you can bounce between them. So let's do that. Let's run Safari. Oh, and if I drag it all the way to the left, I can close that. So now I want to run notes. So I'll press on notes, drag it over to the right side, and there's the two apps running. So I can look up something on this side, and then over here, I can be typing away what I want. So this makes productivity a little bit better.
If you have two screens, can you, in two different applications, can you drag and drop?
Yes, you can. Very good, Chuck. His question was, can you drag and drop between two separate screens? Let's go over, I'll run,
That's like a regular computer.
I'll run Pages on this. And here's a blank one, or doesn't have much there. Okay, so I can take something over here, copy it,
Drag. And paste.
let's see. It's not doing it. Paste. There we go.
Oh, wow.
So it's pasting over there. Font's a little bit funny, but it does work. And let me get rid of that. Well, it's not important right now. Okay, so there we have the maps and notes running at the same time. You just press on one versus press on the other, and you're moving back and forth. Notice I can change the relative size of the apps. Okay, so that I think is a very important new feature of the iPad, the split screens. Now, slide over works a little bit differently. And here you're going to have to sit and think a little bit. You can open an app over an app you're working on, and it has a window floating on top. It doesn't take the screen, half the screen or whatever, it's just floating. And you can move it to the left side or the right side, and you can hide it by throwing it off to the right. Not to the left, you can throw it off to the right. If you open other apps on top of that slide over, you can then bounce back and forth between those, and I'll show you that. So let's go demonstrate that. Let's go back to, no, I don't want to do that one. Let's do Safari. Okay, now I want to take notes on that. If I drag it up, this time when I take the notes, I don't drag it all the way to the edge. I just drag it so that window is showing, and I let go, and it floats there. So this takes up less room. So if there's a couple things you want running, you can put it over here. And if I move it over to the, there we go. I pressed it on the top and flicked it over. And it's still being quite stubborn. And if I flick it to the right, it's gone. But if I put my finger over on the side and flick back, it comes back. Now, there can be multiple things running inside here. You see the line on the bottom? I'm going to go draw up on the line, and then you notice that there was email. I'll draw up on the line, and I can go back to here. If I want to run a different app there, all I have to do is grab it and put it on top. Now when I draw it up, I have 3 of them. So if you ever got an instance where you want to bounce back and forth between several apps really quickly and have one main page, side view is the best way to go. If there are 2 apps you want to use that you want them each to have full territory, then split view is the way to go. By the way, remember I was telling you that the iOS changes stopped my right arrow working on my keyboard? And when I hit the right arrow, it moved the cursor to the left, which is not what it's supposed to do. Day before yesterday, Apple released iOS 13.1.3. Guess what they fixed?
The right arrow.
Now when I go in here and I hit the right arrow, the cursor is moving to the right, and the left arrow moved to the left. So they fixed the problem night before last. Okay. So that's split view and slide over. Now they've added more gestures and some keyboard shortcuts. But the gestures they've changed and added. One of the ways, last year when they made a change, if you were on a keyboard and you wanted to move the cursor and you were on your virtual keyboard, If you put 2 fingers down and held it, and you moved it back and forth, the cursor moved. Okay? That's the way it was a couple weeks ago. Now they've added some things. Now when you place your finger on the screen at a certain spot, the cursor will go there, and if you move your finger to where you want, the cursor will go with it. Go back to this. I put the finger, it's on where it says department, on right here. If I put my finger there and drag, you see the cursor's going with it. So now it's after the T and after the C and direction. So that's more convenient. But they didn't stop there. They've added a way to select things rather quickly. If I double tap on a word, Missouri Columbia, University, let's not do that. I double tapped on association, it selected the word. Okay, if I triple tap on something, it selects the sentence. Yeah, bingo. That's more convenient than it ever used to be. And if I quadruple tap, it selects an entire paragraph. So that's really nice. Now, when I did that, it gave me a menu of what I might want to do with it. Cut it, copy it, paste it, etc.
So it's turning your iPad into a full-blown computer.
That's what they're trying to do.
That's what they're doing, slowly but surely.
Yeah, it's too slowly in my opinion, but they are doing it.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so I've selected that sentence, and let's just do a word. Trying to make the menu go away, but it won't. If I
My laptop.
go to a spot and triple tap it, I'm sorry, 3 finger tap it, you get some, so if we're Missouri, I can get a menu, and that with various options. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. So you select a word, select a sentence, select a paragraph, tap 3 fingers to bring up an options menu if it's not there. Okay, now this is a little touchy. It doesn't work for me. But if you've selected something and you take 3 fingers and draw them in, it copies it to the clipboard. If you then move your cursor and do 3 fingers out, it's a paste. 3 fingers twice is a cut in. All right, now I've tried that. It works less often for me than it works.
That's because you're not 20 years old.
I don't know. So they're here, you can try them, but for me they're so useless I won't use it.
What do they mean by 3 fingers left and right?
I haven't got there, Stan. Let's go. Stan said, what is 3 fingers left and right? And that is a undo and a redo. So let's go in, go back to that. I've selected the sentence, and I've cut it. 3 fingers touched on the screen, move it to the left, and that undoes what I just did. 3 fingers and move it to the right redoes the delete that I had. So I don't want to delete that, so I'm going to go 3 to the left. That I do like, but the 3 fingers in and the 3 fingers out just doesn't work for me.
What are the twices?
What?
The one above that says twices, what are those?
I'm sorry.
3
Say
fingers in twices.
Yeah, they,
twice.
Twice is.
3 fingers in twice is a cut.
There's a little space missing.
Did I not type that correctly?
Should be a space between the twice and the is.
Okay.
She thought it was a,
twices.
yeah.
That's misspelled.
Let's go back here.
Yeah, TWIC.
Ah, okay. I will correct that in the future. Okay, so that is the multi-touching, and some of it is quite useful. Some of it I can't get to work.